Welcome back to the channel. It's good to see you. Glad to have you. Pull up a chair. Let's carve our knight, our gnomish knights, just a little bitty 1x1, 4 inches tall with just a knife. We're going to do that. It's the next in the series, number 3, and he turned out actually quite good, I think. I like the way he turned out. I got this one here, really weathered looking and kind of beat down. I mean, you can paint him however you want to, but like you can see the carving, right? Like and how we did that. I really like the way it turned out. I think it's a lot of fun. So if you want to take part, if you want to try carving yourself, let's flip the camera around and we'll do that right now. The axe wielding knight. What we've got going on design wise is an axe that is going to be on that second flat plane in the front, because we're going to carve him on the corner just like we've done the other pieces. So on a corner of a block right here, and this is going to be a 4-inch tall 1x1 block, the same as our ranger. So he's going to be the same height as the ranger and a little bit shorter than the wizard, because that hat of course makes him a good bit taller. So 4-inch long 1x1 block, and let me show you right here, 4 inches and a 1x1 block. For the character and the way he's arranged, he's going to have one arm down, one arm over gripping his axe. We're going to decorate that axe haft there and then put a belt in the back just like we did on the other two characters. It's pretty simple in a lot of ways. It's going to be very similar to the other two characters. The big differences here are going to be in the helmet and the axe, the way the hand comes down, this one being straight. And so like if you really get a hold of how we're doing these characters, you can start to do all kinds of characters your own way by combining these arms with this axe. Maybe you can have this axe come down and have this haft be backwards the other direction. And you could combine all kinds of things from these 3 characters alone to make individual characters of your own, which is really neat and really great. So there's just more options for you in the helmet and in the axe and in how we're doing the hands. So that's what we're looking at right now. So I'm going to set him aside for right now. The overlay, if you're new here, on the left over here, this is the finished character that we're carving right now. So as we're carving him, you'll be able to look over here and see what we got going on, how we're doing things, and what the end result should look like. Now, for the shoulders right here, we're going to come down 1 inch from the top. For the bottom of that elbow, it is 2.5 inches down. So 2.5 inches down to the bottom of that elbow. We are, let me double check some things here. We are to the bottom of this hand here, 2 7/8 inches down to the bottom of that hand. And then along this side here, because we're going to remove this section right here and remove this section right here, it's about 1/4 inch. That's also the width of the arm, left to right. And that line continues down. So we're going to remove this section here. That's going to be our arm. That's going to be our arm. We're going to remove this section here, okay? It's about, for the haft here, I'm going in on each side at about 1/4 inch as well. So about 1/4 inch in and 1/4 inch in, all the way up and down to about the midway section, which is from the bottom 1 7/8 inches up to the bottom of the axe, okay? The top of the axe, for those who really want to know, is 2 and, what is that? 2 1/4? Looks like 2 1/4. The top of the axe right here. And then we draw that nice little loop going up. The axe edge is going to touch just barely to the arm and then come back down before we go up and then back over. So that's a kind of a fancy shape. I can't really tell you the measurements of that shape. It's just, it's going all the way over though. You see up to here to about an 1/8 of an inch maybe away from the arm, and then we start to curve down and in, and we come back and away, and probably 1/4 inch, maybe a little more, maybe 5/16 over, and then we come back up and over like so. So those are the simple measurements we've got in here right now. For all the carvings, I do connect the corners on the top of the carving. I suggest you do the same, because that helps you keep things lined up as you begin to take wood off of each side. So definitely do that, especially if you're new. It will absolutely help you to keep in It'll actually help you keep in target or on target for where the center of your carving is and keeping that lined up for the front of your carving. So we're gonna jump into this. I'm gonna use this helving knife. It's just the one that I grabbed. It is an 1 3/4 inch rough out knife, and we're gonna use that for all the work we do today. And we're gonna go ahead and go right into it. I'm gonna start here on the shoulders as I often do, and we're just gonna go in, up, and out. So I'm gonna go in and curve up as I go, like so. A couple of quick cuts. We've got that shoulder mostly set in, and you can see about how far in we went, and that's about what, 1/3 of the distance to the middle. Do the same thing on the other side here. Just in and curve up like so. Let's take a look. You can see we still got a little bit ways to go. Take the same on the other side. How deep we go in is up to us, really. We can go a little bit shallower, and we can change the shape of this helmet however we want to. I like to have the helmet a little bit thinner at the top than I do at the bottom because it gives it a neat effect, I think, like so. Kind of like a Tudor style helmet. But you can go with a straight kind of bucket style helmet and have it be the exact same width up at the top and at the bottom. So be mindful of that while you're doing this, and you can adjust your carving to meet whatever standards you'd like to meet. You see this shoulder's a little bit higher. Okay, so now we're going to square the shoulders off a little bit. So I'm going to come right here this plane, blades flat against it, but I'm not going to curve it. I'm just going to go straight in, pushing it in, and you can see I've just started a little bit of a V cut there. And I'm just going to bring it straight down. Now take note, I don't start from the top first because that's how you want it splitting wood. If I start doing this, it's going to want it splitting. I got to give it a stopping spot first. So I come in like so, and you can see that cut right there. And then by coming down to it, you can hear it stop right in the cut. And that gives it a place to delineate the difference. The depth I press it in also gives me the ability to control how deeply I go, and it gives us a cleaner look when we're done. So for those of you who seem to be confused by stop cuts, that's what we're going for there. And we're looking pretty good. Those shoulders aren't perfectly even, but we can adjust that as we go. So for the back here, we're not going to need all of this wood. So let's start by just knocking some of this off right here real quick. Now see right here, it started to split because the wood grain is traveling a little bit to the left. I don't know if you can tell right here. It's traveling, as it goes up, it's going kind of in this direction here. So my knife blade got between the grains and started pulling down real good. And so that started to tear a bit more than it cut. The way to fix that is to turn the carving around and carve from the other direction. So if that happens to you, stop, flip it around, carve from the other direction. Because if it starts pulling in deep, it might wind up pulling in too deep, and you wind up taking off more than you wanted, and then you're frustrated and upset with yourself because you didn't stop it and you didn't catch it. All right, so we got a little bit off the back. We're going to go ahead and start to cut in and delineate where everything is, start blocking things in. We're going to start by making a little cut here, a little stop cut right at the top of the axe haft. So we're going to rock the knife blade in like so, right at the top of that axe haft. And I'm going to carve right down to it just a little bit. So we're just going to set that in like so. Helps us remember where everything is. We're going to do the same thing here for the bottom of this elbow. We're just going to push in like so, and then we're going to carve right up to it, using that left thumb as the engine for my carving here. And then I'm going to carve in the opposite direction to take the rest of this off here for that section we don't need. You can see here it's splitting again, but it's not a long distance, so I'm not too worried about it because it can't pull too deeply on me. Now your carving may split in a different way, in a different spot, or a different cut, and that's because the wood grain on your particular piece of wood is going in a different direction. There's nothing wrong with that. Like we're working with a piece that goes up and down because that's how we cut the stick, right? But as it goes up and down, and maybe one to the left, and maybe one to the right, and you can't always do these things exactly cut for cut with someone because of that. So keep that in mind, that your cuts might not be able to be the exact same place, the exact same way as mine, and that is just the way that wood carving works. You are looking for the shape that I'm going for and then trying to recreate that shape, and not always just recreating every cut that I do. Alrighty here. So working on the other side of the arm, we got that section there blocked out, and that worked out pretty well for us. Now we want to block out the axe haft here as well. So I'm going to do a little bit of a stop cut right here on the haft, right underneath that metal axe head. We're going to, I like to soften that line first, right? Take that down a little bit. Now we're going to draw a line right here, coming straight into this plane. And you can see, like, we're on the corner of that block. So this is that square. I'm going to come straight in with this line here, right along that axe haft, and I'm going to draw that down. I am not using a lot of force. I'm moving very carefully and very slowly. My hand is in the way. I'm going to adjust that hand up out of the way, and I'll continue to move it. Now I'm going to be holding the knife still, and my left hand is moving the carving up. As I do this, and then I roll it to finish that last bit. I could just pull down and do that. I don't like that. It seems a little like I'm less controlled with it. So when I get to the end, I rotate it, and that's what I prefer to do. I'm going to do the same thing here. We notice the hands that come down and go around that haft. So I want to stop at the top of the hand. So I can start right here, come down, and stop right about so at the top of the hand. Pick it back up at the bottom of the hand, and continue down and rotate it in right there at the bottom. Now I should be able to come in here, keeping the tip of that blade right up against the edge of the haft. I'm going to come down and do a paring cut as I go, and just take out that little bit. So we create that nice shadow there. We start to block in that haft. And we do the same thing on the other side here, keeping the tip of the blade up against that haft as we go down, and we do pretty nicely there. I'm going to go ahead and take off that hard edge on the side of the haft here. Do the same thing on the other side as well. Like so. And that is looking quite well. I'm a big fan of that. Okay, we are making good progress. So for the front of this helmet here, that is coming out way too far. And you can see on the guy we got it on over here. So we're going to go ahead and bring that in a good bit. And then we're going to work on taking off the saw marks on this plane here. And I'm taking off a little bit as I go. So you can see I'm starting to incline that in this direction, up and in a little bit. I do the same thing here. Up and in, halfway down, up and in. And again, just to incline that helmet a little bit back. And you can start to see the way it's going back. So it's going back on those two planes here. So even though I took off that corner, I kind of reformed it. You can see right here in front where it's wider here, this section here, and flat, and then it comes to a sharp point and it continues here from the midpoint up, right? So that's what we did there to start to form that helmet a little bit and to bring that face back. As you can see now, the axe haft is out here in front of it a bit, okay? Now the reason we were trying to make sure we removed all these saw marks is, as I tell people in every video, because I never know which video is someone's first, those saw marks will take paint and stain differently than the rest of the carving. So a carving that's been touched by a blade in this section here is going to take paint and stain differently. So we want to make sure that we get all those saw marks off so we don't accidentally leave them, because if we do, they're going to wind up taking paint and stain differently, and it causes a problem in the finishing process, and we're like, what's going on? Why is that like that? So I took all those saw marks off the back of our carving right now, because now is the time where it's easiest to do. And we need our drawings on here right now for this front part. So we're going to wait a little bit on this front section before we do that. But we are going to go ahead and set in some more lines, because I can take it off in this section if I go ahead and set the bottom of the hands in. So I'm going to rock that blade in, coming straight along that plane, like so. And I'm going to carve right up to it using my left thumb as the fulcrum to pull that knife in. And then clip that out. And now I can go the opposite direction. and try to flatten that plane out. Nice and smooth like so. And so we got a good bit of depth right there, you can see. And we've set in that elbow a bit, create a bit of shadow there, so we can start to see what that should look like, and that's fantastic. Now we're going to do a little bit of drawing with our knife tip. Here we're going to set in the lines for the rest of what we got going on here, okay? So for this arm, same thing. I'm going to put the knife blade in, and this time we're not coming in straight from the front. We're going to come straight in on the plane of the carving here. I'm going to come in straight into the plane and go right into that arm, and I'm going to come straight down with it. And I'm going to be moving the carving up while my right hand stays still, and then rotate down. So I got that set in. Now I'm going to do the same thing for setting in this axe haft. And I'm coming straight in again on this plane. So this flat plane here, I come straight in and I'm just doing the pattern of the axe, following the lines we drew. Straight down. Straight down. It's going to connect with that line in the arm. And it's going to come back out. If it's having a hard time moving, maybe pull the knife out, readjust how you need to, and then try again. Okay. So we've got that line set in for that axe haft. This is a pretty funky thing to try to carve around. That's okay. It's actually easier than it looks, and we're going to take care of that here just now. So to start with, we're going to come in on the top here, right? We got that arm put in. We've got all those lines carved around there. We're going to come in at a bit of an angle. I'm going to come in about that kind of an angle, coming down to the lines we cut in, like so, okay? And I'm going to try to, midway there, snap it out. So we started to form that. Now, I make it look easier to snap out than it might work for you. I get that. I am more experienced with this probably than you are. Maybe I'm not. But if it looks like it's easier for me, it is simply experience alone. Notice how I'm doing multiple cuts here. I'm redoing each cut until it pops out. So I went in here and I went in here and then I tried to carve up underneath it to pop it out, and it didn't come. So I redid that cut, and then I redid this cut, and then I redid the bottom cut until it popped out, until it came out all the way. I didn't start doing new cuts in new areas. I simply redid the ones I did because one of them wasn't deep enough. One of them wasn't pushed in enough. And so I just did each one again for what I thought was the correct depth until I got that stuff out. So same thing there. Now right here, we're going to go in right at the edge of that axe haft, and I'm going to follow with the tip of the blade along the inside of the arm. And I'm going to try to carve out this section just like I did with the axe haft. So we set that arm in a little bit. Now we need to get in up under here, and the blade's going to come up in right to the axe haft. You can see it kind of lines up perfectly. That's kind of what we're going for here. So I'm going to be very careful here, very gentle. We're not going to need to use a lot of force, and carve right up to that. And I'm going to see if I can. Oh, there we go. We popped it out. So we started that shape pretty well. Now in here, we've already got the inside edge. We're going to work on the outside edge. I'm going to just kind of carve up and in like so. And it should pop out. And if you need to make it a little bit deeper, go ahead and make it a little bit deeper. Maybe on this one, I want to make it a little bit deeper and carve it from the other direction. And see, I didn't pop out. I go back in, and there we go. So I'm starting to get a little depth around that axe. Now we got the saw marks right here. We can carve up and pull those out. Start to flatten that area out in the areas we're not carving off, because it doesn't need to be that much protruded. I want to get rid of that so it's at the same depth as all the areas that are getting carved out. There we go. Using that brush to knock away any fuzzies that I got on there. So we got a good outline around that axe haft, and we still have some saw marks on there. Now for this axe, This is pretty easy to get the saw marks off. But another interesting thing that we can do is we can start to put a little plane on that blade. So I'm going to come in just barely at an angle, ever so slightly. And along this plane right here, where the tip of my blade is where the back of the blade will end up. And I'm just going to put a little bit of a plane on that blade, if I can manage it properly. So a little bit of an angle, just slightly. So now that's down a little bit lower than the arm is, and we knock that out. You see that better right there? There we go. So you can see just a little bit of a plane on there. And that's going to provide a little bit more shadow to the axe, and it's a little bit more believable, a little bit nicer. And I'm just going to barely take off the rest of those saw marks on down like so, and like so. Get those arms as well, just like that. Okay, now we've got a lot of that set up. We are doing pretty darn good. He's coming along nicely. So let's worry about this other arm here. And this is actually going to be a lot easier than you think too, because we've already got this line here set in, right? We got that set in, and it's coming in straight on that plane. On this plane here, we're coming in straight like so on that plane for all of these cuts. Same way, straight in here, and we're going to carve in up to that elbow, but not all the way. What we're going to do is we're going to start with our tip right in there, and we're going to push it in, because that's where we want our depth. And so, like, I'm pretty deep in there, you see? Now, the back of that blade, you can see how far back it came. It came back pretty far. I'm going to pull that knife the whole direction, or I can just flip it around, and then do the same thing where I put that knife tip right in that elbow, and I work that blade in, like so. And you can see how deep I got and how far back that blade went. So we got the depth we need along that whole section now. The same way, because we want this next section here, we want it to get shallower as it gets up to the top and deeper as it gets down to the elbow. So we're just going to do the same thing here. We plunge cut with the tip of the knife in that elbow, and then we plunge that knife blade down in, and we have done that right there. We've got a nice depth at the elbow, and it comes shallower as it gets higher. It's exactly what we wanted, and that's exactly what we got right there. So to get the rest of this out, we're going to carve from the top. We're going to keep the tip of our blade right in line with the back of that haft as we come down. And we're going to have the outer section of the blade is kind of up a little bit. You see how that did right there? And then this should be able just to pop that chip right out. There's a little bit of fluff in there. I'm just going to recarve that corner like so, and then try to pop it right out. So we got a good bit of depth right there. That turned out absolutely fantastic. Now we're going to do the same thing for this elbow here. We're going to come down with the tip of our blade right in line with that right there. Come right down to the corner. That just came out so easy. And we started to form what we need to there. And you can see with the way that's starting to shape out, it's pushing that chest out and pushing that midsection in. That's exactly what we want to happen, because we want him to look athletic, like he's got a bit of a chest plate here, right? We want that to come out like that. So these planes here are absolutely fantastic, and they're going to be working to our favor. So let's go ahead and take off the saw marks on this arm right here. Remember, we're not going to go for crazy detail with these. These are little 1x1 figures. They're just meant to, they're just fun. We're not trying to do anything crazy here. We're not trying to like be the most detailed with them. We're trying to do fun details, little things that give the illusion of a knight. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just putting a little stop cut around the base of that axe head. I'm going to cut right up to it. Little things. There's a little bit of fluff in there. Let's knock that out. There we go. Okay. Now, for the bottom of the hands, we can do it now because we're here. We're just going to put a little line right there. And right there. That's where the hands are going to go. So we're going to do a stop cut all the way around there and just carve right up to it. We do not want this to be very deep at all. It is just a little bit to give the illusion of separation, right? Or to give a little bit of shadow from the hand so we know where to stop our paint when we're painting him. And just continue it all the way around. There's a little bit of saw mark still left on that axe, and a little bit of saw mark still left on his arm. So if I start carving down right there on that arm, it's going to cut too deeply. I go up. There we go. Alrighty. I think we're doing pretty good. So let's look at how we're going to set in that helmet. And you can see here, the helmet, the line on it comes straight in, but it's going to be angled down. It's going to come straight in on this plane here, like that, but it's also angled down for that plane there. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring that helmet in, and we can adjust how deep we want that helmet to come in right here, right now. I'm going to bring it down about so. So to line up. Let's go a little bit deeper on this side here. That's pretty good. And that would be our helmet. I don't know, do I want that deeper? Maybe I want that a little bit deeper. Always keep an eraser handy so you can change things. You don't even need to erase it. You can just redraw it and carve it off if you want to. But yeah, I like having it a little bit deeper. The thing about this too is that if you don't like it deeper, you can always take a little bit away, because you can take away things easy with a carving. You can't add things easily. So that's where we're at for him. Now on this, we're coming in straight on this plane. I'm coming in straight in, and I'm going to angle it up for the first cut. So we're going to stop cut like so, okay? Straight in, rocking it in as I do. You can see the depth I got on that right there. And then I'm going to carve right up to it, like so. I'm going to carve up in there again to that stop cut again. Pop that out. For the same thing on this other section here. Get that plane even with the other side. And I'm just going to rock it in. That straight cut, kind of straight in. Again, same way. And then carve right up to it. That's looking pretty good. I like the depth of that helmet. I think that's working out quite well. And I like the fact that there's a little bit of a flat section to the front of it and the bottom half there. This will be just fine. That'll be just fine. Yep, I'm liking it. I'm digging it. Okay. So I'm going to continue around here, come down a little bit to fix that. And what we're going to do is we're going to carve straight in right here, because we want to create a little bit of a shelf around the side of the back of the helmet all the way around there, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to try to do that right now with the knife, kind of doing a slight, ever so gentle kind of stop cut. Just, I'm barely getting out and angling the blade down. It's like in here, it's hard to do. See how there's a little lip I left right here on that edge? I'm going to go ahead and cut that off right there. And I come straight in, okay, and angle it up from the back a little bit if I need to get that line set in. All right, now for that helmet, I'm going to add or remove a little bit from the left side, a little bit from the right side to bring his helmet in just slightly angled in. On the back of the helmet here, I'm going to take a lot off there, and I'm going to take a lot off here, and then the back as well. That'll angle that helmet in like so with just those 3 cuts. That's doing pretty well for the shape of that. That top, we can remove that now. Our lines have kept us lined up, and we can go ahead and just shave this off I don't want to take it off at an angle. I want to take it off as flat as I can so I can keep that nice flat plane on the top of the carving. You got a spot where it tears a little bit, just go back in and fix it up. And that's looking pretty well. That's looking okay. Not a problem. And that helmet is, it's about the same size. This one's a little bit thinner, and there's nothing wrong with that. We did a little bit of a thinner helmet on this guy. And you can adjust things how you see fit. If you want to have a thicker helmet, take off less on the shoulders as you're doing it, and you'll get the effect that you're going for, the look that you're going for. Take off this little section here in the front, carve up like so. I'm going to bounce around a little bit as we clean things up on these styles of carvings, because that's as you should be doing as well. Alrighty. Now for the pauldrons, what we're going to do is we're going to bring those down nice and wide like so, and come right across where that arm meets the elbow, nice and deep, all the way around the back, and come right down in the section here where the helmet ends. Again, where the helmet ends, and then right across, about the same height as the other side. So you see me redoing this line a couple times. That's what I'm doing there. Coming around here, and that elbow there needs to come, or that arm right there needs to come up a little bit. I'm going to come right down with the side of the helmet, like so. Looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and do a straight line, straight in for that one right there, okay? Going straight in, and then again, straight in with that plane. When I say straight in, I'm talking like we're on that corner plane here, and I'm coming straight in like so on that plane for that cut, okay? Do the same thing over here, straight in like so, and then I carve up and in, and then chip cut it out. You see we got a little bit of depth there, how we did that. Same thing on this other side here. I carve up and in, and I'm going to chip that out. Same thing. I can tell we've got a little bit more out on the left side there, and we got this head kind of, looks like it's turned a little bit maybe. So he's kind of looking like he's looking a little bit to the left, kind of the illusion of. I'm not upset with that. I don't mind that. So if you notice that too, it looks maybe a little bit wider on the left side than the right side. I don't mind the look. I've noticed that too. I'm not trying to correct it because I kind of like it. It looks a little bit more alive. I don't know how to put it. So I don't mind it. So if you're noticing that look too, I get it. I'm not doing anything to correct it because I kind of enjoy it. All right, a little stop cut action there. A little stop cut action along the bottom of this. So we need to maintain the same height too as we go around. So if your lines don't line up with where the line is on the back, just continue the line from the front around, and then we can bring that cut, same plane right here, okay? Straight in like so, as I come down on that, and I'm going to pivot the carving so I can do that pairing cut right here, and come right down to the back of the helmet, getting that depth that I need behind the helmet with it. And then I'm going to do a stop cut right there up to that. And we've got that pauldron set in as we need to. Set him in on this arm here and carve up to him, following that line around, and then carving right down to it, same plane as the last one, and then right up in under the helmet as well. And you may have noticed, man, that back comes out pretty far now. It protrudes a lot. Let's go ahead and correct that right now. Go ahead and carve back up into it, undercut the helmet, and we started to put in a little bit of an angle of the back right there, and I like that. Okay, so we've made a lot of good progress so far. We're doing well on our carving. I like the way he's turning out. There's all kinds of things we can do at this point. I think what we're going to do is we're going to start to set in the back of the arm as it comes down here. And we'll set in the back of this arm too. And it's going to come from the pauldron all the way down, like so. So you can start to set that in. And yeah, then we can start to maybe work on our elbow a little bit and put in some elbow guards right here. Maybe define our gauntlet. Here we're going to put in a little crook in the elbow, and we're going to put in some elbow guards as well. Try to keep those elbow guards the same height between left and right here. So let's go right there, and then right there, and then something like that for the gauntlet right there. So that's what we're going to go for. So let's start here on the back. I'm going to come, looking at the carving here, this corner, I'm coming straight in on that corner plane here, like so. I'm just going to follow that line down. Right hand's going to hold the knife. Left hand's going to move the carving as I draw down that line to the bottom and rotate it to catch that last little bit. Now I'm also going to put a stop cut here. And then right there, that cross section, I'm going to put my knife blade here. The tip is going to fall right in line with where I drew that line. And I'm just going to carve up, trying to maintain a good depth all the way up to that pauldron. Chip that right out. And then clean up that line as necessary. If you don't like how hard a line is, take care of it. But I think that sets in our arm pretty well. You notice there's a little bit of a curve coming out down here. I don't like that. I'm going to try to fix that by carving up to the arm like so, and it looks fairly good. I'm starting to like that. Okay, same thing over here. We're going to carve straight in and carve right down to that elbow. And here I'm holding the knife still, and I'm using this hand to move up and push up. And I carve a little stop cut right there. Carve right down to it like so. And pop that out. There we go. And then we're going to start to take off a little bit of this excess wood here. Because now we started to define these things, some of this is coming out a little bit too far for my taste. And that may be the same for you. And if it is, correct it. Go back in, start to carve things down a little bit, however you feel you need to. What I like to do, though, is I like to keep the middle back here out a little bit because it enables me to go in at the belt a bit more as we do that. And I keep the bottom out a little bit because it enables me to go in at the belt. So let's go ahead and start putting our belt in, right? We know where the elbow is. So right here, just barely above the elbow, we're going to come along with a straight line. Bottom section of the belt will come straight across like so, and that bottom of the belt will end right at the edge of the elbow. That enables us to have the belt in an about appropriate spot for him. You'll notice like on your own elbow doesn't go down to your belt, but this is a cartoon kind of version of a knight. He's not completely realistic. If he was, he wouldn't be carved on a 1x1. I started to do that line off. I had to fix it. I don't like the way that looks, but that's okay. We can fix it a little bit. I'm going to carve down to this. Now on the left and right side here of this belt, I'm going to kind of carve a bit more off to give him a bit of an impression of a waist. I carve in like so. So it's a little bit deeper than you might think because I'm trying to give him the impression of a waist. Same thing here. And then here and there, like so. And then you can see that, okay, that's a little bit too far out. Let's go a little bit higher and bring this down. Because now we're looking at the back and how it interacts. So I like the way that back is coming down now. That belt is out too far. I'm not worried about that right now. I'm going to fix it. But I like the shape of that back. Maybe that corner is a little bit too hard. Let's soften that up. We're going to bring that in a bit more. I like the way that back is starting to form now. I'm enjoying that. So we set the bottom of this. Doing the kind of same maneuver. Where I go a little bit deeper on the left side. A little bit deeper on the right side as well. and then up to the middle of the belt, up to the middle of the belt, like so. You can see we started to set in a bit of a thin waist as those lines come up to it, right? To his battle skirt or whatever. You know, he's got this chainmail bottom thing going on. And I really like the look of that. Yeah. Yeah, I'm enjoying that. Gonna take more off right there. Smooth that line out here. And smooth that out right there. Okay. And now that we've got those lines where we want them, we can start to look at our belt and say, you know what, that's a bit too thick. So let's first start by taking those hard edges off that belt. Off the top, and we'll do the same thing on the bottom here. Take those hard edges off. And then take a little bit of depth off of that belt as we go around, like so. And that belt looks a whole lot better. A nice, wide-looking belt. Actually, I like that. I like the way that looks. So, we're starting to get him where we want him. We're doing pretty well. Let's go ahead and look at the front of our helmet here. I'm going to go ahead and smooth that off in a nice line a little bit. So we kind of taken that flat plane to the bottom, and we kind of continued that up. We got a smooth plane there. See that on the light? Yeah, there it is. All the way up. Now I'm going to use that plane, draw a bit of a line here on the left side and right side of that plane, because we're going to use that. I'm going to come in straight on this corner here. I'm going to draw right down the edge of that plane. Same thing on the other side. Right down the edge of that plane. And now I'm going to put my knife tip right up to it and carve up. We're not looking to remove much, just a little bit to define that. If it doesn't pop out, so you can pull it out yourself. But the same thing, I'm going to come down the top on this side here. And there we go. Now I'm going to smooth that out. Take off the hard edges. Let that. That's looking really nice. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so the bottom's a little bit too far up. Let's shift that off, like so, and take off those hard corners. Look at the same thing at the top. Shift that out, and then take off those real hard corners, like so. Okay, so you got that weird bar in the middle, which looks a lot better when you get the eyes knocked in. So what height do we want the eyes? Maybe about a third of the way down. I'd come in like so for our eyes. And I'm just going to put a deep, short cut. Okay? I'm going to go deep, and I'm not going to go long. So you can see I'm coming in at an angle more than I would, because I don't want the back of that blade making that cut real long. I want that cut to be exactly as long as I want it to be, like so. And then I'm just going to carve, actually, another stop cut right here. And then I'm going to carve right up to it. And I'm going to do this a quick shortcut. I want it to be not very long, but I want it to be deep, like so. Same thing on this other side here. Nice and deep. Nice and deep. And I'm going to try to get it the same height as the other side here. And just come in, put that depth to it, like that. And that actually turned out pretty darn well. I think I like that. I like that a lot. We need to clean up underneath here. A little bit of cleanup. If you see lines that are just like looking terrible, recut them. Don't leave them. recut them. That is what you should be doing all the time. I leave things till a little bit later in the carving sometimes before I recut, but you should still always go back in and recut as necessary. I don't like it. I don't like it. Look at all that. Let's go ahead and do some cleanup here. Let's clean up this hard edge in the back of the arm, rounding off that elbow a little bit. The hard edge right there. Let's go start working on this arm here. So in this arm, in the crook, I'm going to take that hard edge off as I come down here. The same thing in the direction and leave a little bit of a V cut right here in that elbow. So you can see there's a little bit of a different angle there now. And that, there it is. There's a light on it. That is going to give the illusion of a little bit of an elbow, right? Then we're going to do a stop cut right here for that arm guard and carve right to it just enough to leave a line. And we're going to continue that line around the upper edge and around the lower edge, carving up to it. So we're carving towards the elbow to set that up, because like the elbow has an arm guard on it. So the depth should be lower on the arm and higher on the elbow for that little carving area. Continue it all the way around the back of the arm. And you don't need to do a lot. It doesn't need to be chipped out a lot. Just enough to provide that little effect. We're going to make that arm go all the way up to the arm guard as well, because it's kind of like a breastplate and a separate piece of armor, so we want to separate it out like so. I like him. He's looking tall. He's looking imperious. He's looking like a paladin, a battle axe wielding paladin. I like the way he's turning out. Carve that little section out. I'll put a little bit more depth right there. Yeah, looking good. Now, we're going to do the same thing on this gauntlet here. We're going to carve down to the gauntlet, like the gauntlet comes out from the rest of the carving in the same manner. So that separates that out. We can take off those hard lines here along the top, those hard lines here along the bottom. Okay, we're not doing a lot there. We're doing this knife only, so there's not a lot of texturing that we can do with a knife, but that's looking a lot better. Let's do this other arm the same way. We already got some marks here in the front. Drop my pencil. Let's go ahead and continue those around for the elbow guard and for the gauntlet right there. So first off, let's take that hard edge off like so. We're going to draw that first line like so and carve right down to it. Now taking a little bit off more than I need to there. Just don't take off as much as I did there. You're just looking to set a little bit of a separation line. It doesn't need to be a whole lot. Right here. And now it's kind of looking like a collar or like a cylinder on him right now, because we don't have any depth to that elbow guard. So we need to give the illusion of the elbow right here. So we're going to do a little V cut right here like so. Give the illusion like that's where the elbow is right there, right? That's where it would pivot on that elbow, same height as the other side. That's what we're doing there. Then I continue that line down here for our gauntlet. We're not doing some very detailed hands here. We don't need to. We don't need to for this little carving. Just picture it as a big chainmail mitten, so to speak. Take off those hard edges. I'm going to take off that corner here, that corner there, a little bit in that corner like so. Take off those hard edges here as well as I go around. And then right here, I'm going to come up and in a little bit, and then like so. That little chip will give him a thumb. Just a bit of one, not too much. And maybe take off that tip a little bit. Right, and you can try to do the same thing here if you want to on the hands. If you feel like you want to chance it, you feel like you want to take that try, you can try to put some fingers in on there if you want to. I don't think I need to. I'm going to keep it as a big mitten like that and keep it hidden. So that's, if you want to do that, you can. Now you see this belt is going to come around, and it's going to be at this height right here. So to do this right, we need to have a line right there for the bottom edge of that belt and for the top edge of that belt on the other side. So we need to put a line in. And see, I'm looking at it from the back side and trying to put that line at the same height as it comes around. And I'm looking at the back side where the belt is in the bottom here and trying to put that at the same height as it comes around. So I need to set a stop cut in there. And the stop cut, I'm going to cut up to it on the bottom here, and I'm going to cut down to it on the top here. So I'm going to draw that line right across there, cut right down to it, and chip it out. Same thing here. Chip it out. I'm going to soften that hard edge. And see, we've got that belt line right there. A little bit of fuzzies in there. We got that belt line in there now. That's looking a little bit better. Same thing here. Just going to draw that line up to that axe. Then from that axe to the axe haft. And I'll use the tip of the blade here to carve over. Just like so. It doesn't take much to delineate that, just a little bit. And that's doing fairly well. Now, let's get a little bit fancy with our decorations, because we can. You'll see I put the spiral pattern on the haft of that axe. I really like that, and it's pretty easy to do. It's not difficult. It's kind of like the spiral pattern that we did on this wizard here in the bottom, just kind of in the opposite direction. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to continue it around the sides as well. So we're going to use that same kind of trick that we did and use it here. And we can start it up here, like so, around. And then we're just going to kind of do the same thing down here, drawing that in, and try to keep it at the same angle and the same distance apart as you go down. And that can be hard. If you need to redraw it, you need to redraw it. There's nothing wrong with that. Take your time as you go around. And like so. So pretty easy. And we're just going to V-cut those little marks in all the way up like that, and then do the same thing on the way down. And again, you can look at our overlay on the left there, and you can see what this finished product is going to look like, how it's going to turn out. So if you want to see that, you absolutely can. So like, how's he doing that? These are just little V-cuts coming in from one direction and then from the other direction. So I continue it around. I'm not going very deep at all. Matter of fact, I'm trying to not go deep. I'm trying to just barely get into it. Because if I go too deep, this is a delicate section here. It could wind up damaging, chipping out. Absolutely not what I want to do. This is a very delicate operation, very light touch. And doing it all the way down to the skirt there on each side. And rotate your carving as needed. You'll see me rotating this thing around, spinning them around as I do this. Do the same thing. Take your time. And that, my friends, looks pretty good, I think. I think that does. So what else can we do here? Well, for one, we're going to round off the edge, this hard edge on the helmet a little bit. That's a little bit too hard, and that doesn't look as realistic as it could. We can get a little bit more realism by taking off that helmet edge a little bit, just a little bit. Now, to add a little bit more texture to him, we're going to put some layers to this, maybe a hover, like he's got a tunic on, let's say, right? So we can have it maybe end right here, just below the hand. So we can put a stop cut line in there and then carve up to it. Like so. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. And this is going to be real easy. There's nothing complicated here. We're just going to stop cut, carve up to it, all the way around, and make sure it's the same height on either side of that haft as you meet back around the other side. And I'm going to try to make sure that incline is a little bit easier. We kind of separate it out like it's two pieces, two different pieces, and not just a line down one. That provides a little bit more texture, a little bit more layers to our carving, give them a little bit more life in this bottom area here. Absolutely fantastic. So that's one step to giving him more life, right? Now we could do it again. We could do like we did in the Ranger. If we wanted to, we could give a little line down there at the bottom and texture that a little bit differently if we wanted to. On this guy here, I put like a band there and did that. And you could do that too. Or you can just leave him just like that and have that be one color, this be another color, and you kind of got that set. So it's up to you what you want to do here and how you want to finish this guy off. I'm going to round this section off here. Alrighty. And I think that you can play around with these things for hours to get little things just perfect. And I'm going to do that for a little bit here. I'm going to take hard edges off certain areas. But there comes a point where you got to say, enough is enough. Where you got to say that you're done and just be done. So I'm going to take some hard edges off these pauldrons. Like so. Get a hard corner off in the back. Reset that head there a little bit. Looking good there. Take that hard corner and that hard corner off. And that's looking pretty well. We'll take a little bit more off on the front of that belt. And I think that we're going to keep doing this over and over again. We're just going to call him good. And I'm going to go wash him up, get him soaked, so you can see how that will heal the carving. And you'll see that look in 3, 2, 1, and there we have it. All washed up, looking pretty good, cleaned up. And I think that he turned out pretty well. I love that wet look to him. I mean, he just looks buttery smooth, and the way the wood grain pops out looks absolutely fantastic. So the way that I finish up this guy, if you haven't seen the channel before, is with black walnut Danish oil and then paste finishing wax buffed in with a brush. And that gives you this awesome look that you'll see on these 3 carvings. I have a video on the channel on how to apply black walnut Danish oil. There's also a short that I did on it, and provides a little bit of difference. You'll see this one in the middle is a little bit darker because after I wash carvings, I let this guy dry for 24 hours before applying the black walnut Danish oil. And this guy were applied a few hours. This guy was 1 hour, and this guy was 2 hours after applying the water right to the Danish oil. So there's a little bit of water still in the wood, and it doesn't soak in as far. This guy's a little bit darker because, like I said, he dried for 24 hours before I applied it. So depending on what kind of look you want to go for, that's how those work. We're going to do another video right now. We do a painting video. So if you want to see that video, you'll see the link pop on the screen here at the end of this video. And that's all I got for you folks. Thank you so much for sticking around at the end of the video. I really appreciate it. We got our knight all carved up. If you'd like to see how we painted this fella, we got a video on painting him coming up next. You can watch that on the channel as well. If you want to see how we stained him, I got a video called How to Apply Danish Oil and Wax. I also got a short that goes to the same thing on how to apply it and get that finished just like that. So if you want to do that, you can do that, or you can do the painting video. Either way, if you don't want to do either one of them, you can just leave your carving as he is, if you just find that way too. I really appreciate your time. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out, and I really appreciate it. If you want to get some cool swag, like the I Made Wood Chips t-shirt that I'm wearing right now, you can head over to the website and do that. I got some stickers available over on my Etsy. The stickers are going to be switching over to the main website at some point here soon. So the stickers on Etsy are going to go away. I don't know if all those designs are going to stick around. So if you want some of those, check those out as well. Outside of that, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel and commenting and liking and all of that. It's a lot of fun for me, and I really appreciate it. Have a great time, folks. I'll see you next time.